I stand in the Lakewood Country Club Ballroom, surrounded by 87 guests from Diane's real estate circle, when my wife takes the microphone. "I've spent 33 years married to just a librarian," she says. "I deserve a partner who understands real success, real ambition." Conversations stop mid-sentence. Champagne glasses freeze halfway to mouths. Someone's fork clinks against china. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across marble floors while Jessica stands, designer heels clicking. "Dad never understood what it takes to build something that matters," she says. "Mom did all the real work." Michael laughs from his table. From an engineering perspective, Dad was always the weak point in the load distribution. Richard Castellano, Diane's attorney, walks through the crowd and hands me divorce papers. The filing demands I pay her $180,000 in equalization payments for supporting me. I pull a single document from my jacket pocket. "I've documented every transaction, every transfer, every forged signature," I say. 15 years, box 47 through box 89. Love intense drama? Hit subscribe, and let's get back to it. I married Diane in 1990. I was 25, earning $28,000 as a junior cataloger at City Central Library, and she was finishing her real estate certification. We met at a friend's barbecue. She laughed at my jokes about the Dewey Decimal System. The certification cost $8,400. I worked weekends doing document restoration for private collectors, repairing water-damaged manuscripts, and rebinding antique books. The extra income went into an envelope labeled Diane Real Estate Course that I kept in our apartment's kitchen drawer. $8,400. 43 weekend shifts. 1 certification exam. I documented every payment in a ledger, cross-referencing the amounts to my pay stubs and bank deposits. She passed her exam in 1993. Her first commission was $1,200 on a small condo sale. She bought me dinner at a steakhouse. "To you," she said, raising her glass. "None of this happens without you." We purchased our Victorian house in 1992 for $127,000 using a VA loan my father had helped me understand before he died. The 3-story building needed work: peeling paint, sagging porch boards, a kitchen from 1952. I filed the deed, the inspection reports, the contractor estimates in labeled folders in my home office. The turret room became my workspace. I installed floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets, organizing them by year and category. Financial documents in acid-free boxes. Property records in archival sleeves. Every renovation invoice cross-referenced to bank statements showing payment sources. Jessica arrived in 1995. I created photo albums with archival quality pages, documenting her first smile, first steps, first words. Dates written in pencil on acid-free paper. Michael followed in 1998. More albums, more documentation, more archived milestones. They never looked at them. I rose through the library system over 3 decades. Junior cataloger to senior cataloger, to assistant department head-to-head librarian of special collections. My specialty became rare document authentication and fraud detection. I'd caught a forged Lincoln letter worth $400,000 in 2009, spotted the ink oxidation pattern under UV light. I learned to examine ink composition under UV light, to analyze signature pressure patterns with digital microscopy, to spot alterations invisible to untrained eyes. The work paid modestly, but steadily. By 2008, I earned $67,000 annually. By 2020, $89,000. The Victorian needed constant attention. New roof in 1996, $18,400. 3 weeks of contractors hammering overhead. Kitchen renovation in 2003, $34,000, sawdust coating everything for 2 months. Bathroom updates in 2007, $22,000. Foundation repairs in 2012, $41,000. HVAC replacement in 2015, $28,000. Window restoration in 2018, $35,000. Electrical upgrades in 2020, $38,000, among other projects. I paid 73% of the total $340,000 in improvements over 3 decades. I kept every receipt, every contractor invoice, every bank transfer confirmation, filed chronologically with cross-references to the specific renovation project and payment source. Diane's commissions grew. $23,000 in 1993, $67,000 in 2001, $180,000 in 2015, $340,000 in 2020. In 2008, during a dinner party with her real estate colleagues, I served appetizers I'd prepared while Diane described the kitchen remodel. My commissions paid for that, she told a developer from Seattle, gesturing at the marble countertops. The investment really transformed the space. I stood 15 feet away with a tray of bruschetta, saying nothing. After that night, she stopped mentioning my contributions to our finances. At subsequent gatherings, she'd discuss the house renovations as if she'd funded them alone. I maintained the household accounts, filed our taxes, managed our investments, balanced the checkbook every month. She never asked to see the documentation. Rebecca Torres joined the library staff in 2011. Sharp mind, degree from University of Washington, specialized in digital archives. We worked together authenticating historical manuscripts and training new catalogers in preservation methodology. She noticed things I'd accepted as normal. "Your wife was here earlier," Rebecca said one afternoon in 2018. "We were examining a collection of Civil War letters, checking for forgeries. She introduced you to her client as someone who works in archives." I adjusted my magnifying lamp. "That's accurate. You're the head librarian of special collections. You've published 3 papers on document authentication. The mayor cited your work on the Historical Preservation Committee." She adjusts the description for civilians. Rebecca set down the letter she was examining. "Douglas, she made it sound like you file papers in a basement." I returned to the letter. The signature showed consistent pressure patterns. Authentic. Unlike my wife's description of my career, earlier in 2019, Jessica visited the library once. She was 24, working in marketing, dressed in business casual that cost more than my weekly salary. The colleague asked about her father's work. "He's in document management consulting," she said. I stood 15 feet away, cataloging a donation of rare maps. Michael came by in 2020 to use our research databases for a project. 22 years old, investment banking position, designer watch. When the reference librarian mentioned I could help him navigate the archives, he said he'd figure it out himself. "My dad's not a tech person," he told her. I'd designed the library's digital cataloging system in 2015. The family stopped including me in holiday card photos around 2017. Diane sent cards featuring her, Jessica, and Michael smiling in coordinated outfits. I took the pictures. At home, I maintained my filing system. Every utility bill, every insurance payment, every property tax statement. The cabinets in my turret office held 30 years of our family's financial history, organized with the same methodology I used for the library's rare manuscript collection. Each document in its archival sleeve, each sleeve labeled with date, category, and cross-reference codes. Master indices updated quarterly, tracking every significant transaction and its supporting documentation. I created the system to preserve our family's story. Proof that I'd been here, that I'd contributed, that I'd built something that mattered. By 2020, Diane introduced me at social events as her husband who works with old books. Jessica told her professional network I was semi-retired. Michael avoided mentioning me at all. I paid the mortgage, filed the taxes, maintained the house, cooked most dinners, showed up. The documentation continued. Every month, every transaction, every piece of paper that proved I existed in this family and provided for them. Rebecca asked me once why I stayed so meticulous about personal records. It's what I do, I said. I preserve things. I document truth. But I didn't yet understand the truth I was documenting would become evidence. Never thought my professional habits were building an arsenal against my own family. The filing cabinets held everything. 32 years of marriage. 15 years of escalating disrespect. Proof of every dollar I'd earned and every dollar I'd spent building the life they now wanted to take. Box 47 through box 89. Chronologically organized. Cross-referenced. Authenticated. I just hadn't understood what I was building. Not a family archive, an arsenal. The developer from Seattle asked about our kitchen renovation. Diane gestured at the marble countertops. My commissions paid for that, she said. The investment transformed the space. I stood 15 feet away, tray in hand. She'd contributed $9,200 to the $34,000 renovation. I paid $24,800 for my library salary and weekend document restoration work. $24,800. The receipts sat in my turret office, filed chronologically, cross-referenced to bank statements. I served the appetizers and said nothing. After that night, she stopped mentioning my contributions. At subsequent gatherings, she discussed house improvements as if she'd funded them alone. I documented each conversation in dated journal entries, noting who attended and what was said. By 2012, Diane excluded me from financial decisions about property investments. She purchased a rental condo without consulting me, using our home equity line for the down payment. I discovered the transaction when reviewing our monthly statements. We should have discussed this, I told her. She applied makeup at her vanity. You wouldn't understand the market dynamics. This is my area. I'd paid 73% of our home renovation costs over 2 decades. The documentation proved it, but she'd decided my understanding didn't matter. I filed the condo purchase documents in box 31, cross-referenced to the equity line statements showing the $47,000 withdrawal I hadn't authorized. Jessica graduated college in 2013 and started her marketing career. That fall, I attended a networking event where she introduced me to her colleagues. "This is my father," she said. "He works in document management consulting." I stood there in my pressed khakis and Oxford shirt while her coworkers nodded politely. Document management consulting. Not head librarian of special collections. Not the person who'd authenticated a forged Lincoln letter worth $400,000. Not the father who'd paid her tuition. Later, I asked why she'd lied. "It's not lying," she said. "It's positioning. People understand consulting. They don't understand what you actually do." I documented the conversation. Date, location, exact phrasing. Filed in box 52 under Family Interactions, cross-referenced to professional misrepresentation. Jessica visited the library once in 2014, a year after graduation. She was 19, working in marketing, dressed in business casual that cost more than my weekly salary. A colleague asked about her father's work. "He's in document management consulting," she said. I stood 15 feet away, cataloging a donation of rare maps. Michael joined an investment banking firm in 2020. He visited the library once to use our research databases. The reference librarian mentioned I could help navigate the archives. "My dad's not a tech person," he told her. I'd designed the library's digital cataloging system in 2015. The system processed 340,000 documents annually. But my son had decided I didn't understand technology. I stood at my desk 20 feet away, cataloging a donation of Civil War maps, and said nothing. The family stopped including me in holiday photos around 2017. Diane sent cards featuring her, Jessica, and Michael in coordinated outfits. I took the pictures, adjusted the lighting, suggested poses. Then I filed the final versions in Box 64, noting the date and my absence. Thanksgiving 2018, our dining room filled with extended family. I'd cooked the turkey, prepared 3 side dishes, baked 2 pies. Jessica and Michael sat at the table discussing their careers while I served food. "Dad's job is so boring," Jessica said, laughing. "Just organizing old papers all day." Michael nodded. From a structural standpoint, he never understood that real success is measured in assets, not just showing up. Diane smiled. "Some people are content with modest lives." I stood in the kitchen doorway. Turkey I'd cooked, pies I'd baked, house I'd paid for. They laughed about my boring job. I served the potatoes and returned to the kitchen. The following week, I installed a home security system. Professional grade, motion-activated recording in common areas. Automatic cloud upload. Time stamp verification. 6 hours to mount cameras in living room, dining room, kitchen. Everything backed up to encrypted storage. The system recorded 53 conversations over the next 2 years. Jessica said, in March 2019, discussing me with Diane in our living room, "Dad's deadweight. He always has been. You've carried this family financially and socially for decades." Michael explained his perspective to his sister in July 2019. "Real success requires vision. Dad never had that. He just filed papers and thought that mattered." Diane talked with Glenn Whitmore in November 2009 during what she thought was a private conversation. "I've wasted 30 years on someone who caps my social mobility. The club rejected our membership because of him." The Lakewood Country Club had sent their rejection letter in October 2019. The membership committee determined we weren't quite the right fit. Translation, my librarian profession didn't meet their standards. Diane's humiliation triggered something. The conversations shifted from contempt to planning. Glenn said in December 2019, "I can handle the property appraisals. Undervalue everything by 40%. He won't know the difference." Jessica said in January 2020, "The shell companies need to be staggered. 3 LLCS, different formation dates, keeps everything under reporting thresholds." Michael said in February 2020, "The offshore trust structure is elegant. Dad's never even heard of beneficial ownership rules." I archived every audio file. 53 conversations, transcribed and indexed by topic, cross-referenced to dates and participants. Box 73 through Box 81, organized chronologically with supporting documentation. I noticed the financial irregularities in early 2022, property transfer documents with signatures that didn't match my writing. I held the document under UV light. The ink glowed wrong. Manufactured in 2021, document dated 2019. Traced signature, not natural pressure. I'd authenticated signatures for 15 years. This one was amateur work. Appraisal documents valuing our rental properties at $340,000 when comparable sales showed $580,000. Glenn's signature on fraudulent valuations, metadata proving he'd created two versions of each appraisal within days of each other. Shell company formations listing Jessica and Michael as managing members, Diane as beneficial owner. Viridian Property Holdings, Cascade Investment Group, Lakeview Asset Management. 3 companies with no legitimate business purpose, designed to hide marital assets. I examined each document using the same methodology I employed for rare manuscripts: UV light for ink analysis, digital microscopy for signature examination, metadata extraction for creation dates. Every piece of evidence went into Safety Deposit Box 247, archival sleeves. Acid-free storage, complete indexing. Each document cataloged with unique identifiers, preservation dates, authentication notes. 15 years of systematic devaluation, documented in dated journal entries and recorded conversations. 15 years of financial fraud, proven through forged signatures and falsified appraisals. Box 47 through Box 89, chronologically organized. Cross-referenced. Authenticated. They'd spent 15 years treating me like I was invisible, too simple to notice, too boring to matter. They'd spent 15 years assuming I was too simple to notice. I'd spent 15 years documenting everything. Box 47 through Box 89, chronologically organized, cross-referenced, ready. I stand in the Lakewood Country Club Ballroom, surrounded by 87 guests from Diane's real estate circle. The crystal chandeliers cast warm light across marble floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the golf course, now dark under the March sky. Round tables with white linens seat the guests. Each table has its centerpiece, the white roses I selected. I'd printed the invitations myself at the library, using cream cardstock and formal script the way Diane always said she wanted for special occasions. Douglas and Diane Crawford request the pleasure of your company. March 15th, 2023, 7:30 in the evening. The guest list has 87 names, all from Diane's real estate network. I addressed each envelope by hand. The catering cost another $2,800. I write the check, consult with the club's event coordinator about dietary restrictions, passed appetizers during cocktail hour, plated dinner service at 8, 2 signature drinks at the bar. I arrange the centerpieces. White roses and eucalyptus, 12 arrangements, delivered the morning of the 15th. My best Oxford shirt, pressed the night before. Khakis with a sharp crease. Leather shoes polished until they reflect the hallway light. I wrap Diane's gift, a first edition of The Great Gatsby she mentioned wanting last year. The wrapping paper has gold accents. I'd wrapped it last night, still believing we'd celebrate together. Diane's real estate colleagues fill the room. The developer from Seattle who heard about our kitchen renovation. The broker who sold us our rental properties. Glenn Whitmore stands near the bar, talking to the club's membership director. The country club members who rejected our application occupy 3 tables near the windows. I recognize the membership committee chairman, the one who sent the letter explaining we weren't quite the right fit. Jessica arrived early, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Michael stands with his investment banking colleagues, all of them in expensive business casual. Their professional networks, the people they've carefully cultivated while hiding my profession. I hold the wrapped gift. First edition Gatsby, the one she mentioned wanting last year. My palms sweat through the gold wrapping paper. Guests arrive in clusters, greeting Diane with air kisses and compliments about the venue. Several glance at me, then away. At 7:30, Diane walks to the raised platform at the front of the ballroom. Someone hands her the microphone. The conversations don't stop immediately. She taps the microphone twice. The room goes quiet. "I've spent 33 years married to a librarian," she says. "Just a librarian. I deserve better than this embarrassment." Her voice carries across the ballroom, amplified and clear. 87 faces turn toward the platform. I deserve a partner who understands real success, real ambition. But champagne glass freezes. Fork against china. The silence spreads like spilled water across the tables. Jessica pushes back her chair. The legs scrape marble. "Dad's just a boring librarian who never understood real success," she says. "Mom built everything while he pushed papers." Michael laughs from his table near the windows. The sound carries. His investment banking colleagues shift in their seats. One of them glances at me, then looks away. From a structural standpoint, Dad was always just dead weight. Richard Castellano walks through the crowd. I recognize him from Diane's office Christmas party last year. Dark suit, leather briefcase, the careful posture of someone performing a rehearsed action. He stops 3 feet away, extends a manila folder. His hand doesn't shake. "Douglas Crawford, you've been served." I open the folder. First page, marital assets totaling $510,000. The actual value is $890,000. I've documented every property, every appraisal, every bank statement. Page 3 demands, I pay Diane $180,000 in equalization payments for supporting me throughout our marriage. Supporting me. The woman whose real estate certification I funded, whose business I bankrolled through weekend document restoration work, whose house renovations I paid 73% of over 3 decades. Page 7 claims, I contributed little beyond basic bill paying to our family's success. The chandeliers blur. I blink twice. My hands steady around the folder. I close it. The real estate professionals exchange glances. The developer from Seattle smiles slightly. The membership committee chairman leans back in his chair, arms crossed. Glenn Whitmore raises his glass in a small toast. I stand with the divorce papers in one hand and Diane's wrapped gift in the other. The crystal chandeliers cast broken light across the marble floor. 87 faces watch me. My gray eyes move across the room. The Seattle developer, the membership chairman, Glenn at the bar, Jessica in her designer dress, Michael with his banking colleagues, Diane on the platform, microphone in hand, waiting for my response. I understand your position, Diane. The whispers stop. Someone's fork freezes halfway to their mouth. I have documented this conversation as I have documented all our financial discussions for the past 15 years. The archives are comprehensive. I set the wrapped gift on a nearby table. The divorce papers stay in my right hand. Behind me, a glass clinks. Someone laughs nervously. The whispers start. Did you hear what he said? Documented everything? Pathetic. She's been supporting him for years. The developer's voice carries. Poor Diane, finally free of that dead weight. I push through the ballroom doors into the country club hallway. My footsteps sound loud on the marble floor. The $4,200 venue rental. The $2,800 catering. The hand-addressed invitations. The white roses and eucalyptus. I walk to my car in the parking lot. The wrapped gift sits on a table inside. Gold paper catching chandelier light. The divorce papers in my hand, manila folder with my future inside. I drive home to the Victorian house I've maintained for 32 years. The turret office waits, floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets holding box 47 through box 89. Chronologically organized. Cross-referenced. Authenticated. The archives are comprehensive. I arrive at First National Bank at 8:47 a.m., 13 hours after the anniversary party. The vault attendant knows me from quarterly visits spanning 15 years. She retrieves box 247 without comment. The large format box weighs 32 pounds. I carry it to the private examination room and spread the contents across the table. Original bank statements in archival sleeves. Property deeds in acid-free folders. 53 audio files on digital drives with timestamp verification. Photographs of forged signatures under magnification. The 47-page master index I updated last month. Each document cataloged by unique identifier. Each piece cross-referenced by date, fraud type, involved party. The same methodology I use for the library's rare manuscript collection. These are the contents of box 47 through box 89, the chronologically organized evidence I've been building for 15 years. I transferred everything from my turret office filing cabinets to this safety deposit box 3 months ago, when the conversations I was recording suggested Diane's planning had reached the execution phase. I load everything into my car and drive to City Central Library. My office on the 3rd floor houses the authentication equipment I've used for 23 years. UV lights for ink analysis. Digital microscope for signature examination. Spectral imaging equipment for detecting alterations invisible to standard observation. 23 years of authentication work. Every tool I need. I spread the first property transfer document across my examination desk. The signature reads Douglas Crawford in flowing script, dated March 2019. The document transfers ownership of our rental condo to Meridian Property Holdings, one of Michael's shell companies. I hold the first transfer document under UV light. The signature glows wrong. Modern ballpoint manufactured after 2020, document dated March 2019. Traced pressure patterns, not natural hand movement. I photograph both under magnification, print the images, file them in evidence set alpha, item 001. I switch on the UV light. The ink glows wrong. Modern ballpoint ink manufactured after 2020 fluoresces at a different wavelength than earlier formulations. This signature uses ink that didn't exist in March 2019. I position the document under the digital microscope at 40x magnification. Authentic signatures show consistent pressure patterns, the natural variation of hand movement. This signature shows uniform pressure across every stroke. Someone traced my writing. I photographed the signature under UV light, then under magnification. Print both images. File them in a new archival box labeled Evidence Set Alpha, Item 001. 13 more property transfers follow the same pattern. Wrong ink composition. Traced pressure patterns. Forged signatures transferring $847,000 in marital assets to shell companies I never authorized. I document each forgery. UV examination. Microscopic analysis. Photographic evidence. By noon, I have 14 proven forgeries cataloged with authentication notes explaining each discrepancy. Amateur work, leaving digital fingerprints everywhere. Glenn Whitmore's property appraisals need different analysis. I pull the appraisal for our Victorian house from the evidence box. The document values the property at $510,000. Comparable sales in our neighborhood show values between $870,000 and $920,000. I extract the document's metadata using forensic software. Created March 12, 2023, 3 days before the anniversary party. I cross-reference this against the legitimate appraisal Glenn provided for our property tax appeal last year. That document valued the house at $890,000. Same property, same appraiser, two valuations separated by $380,000. Glenn created two complete sets. Legitimate appraisals showing actual market values. Fraudulent appraisals showing values reduced by 40%. The metadata proves he generated the false documents specifically for divorce proceedings. I catalog both versions of each appraisal. 14 properties. 28 documents. Every discrepancy photographed and indexed. Michael's shell company formations need timeline analysis. I spread the incorporation documents across my desk. Meridian Property Holdings formed January 2020. Cascade Investment Group formed April 2020. Lakeview Asset Management formed August 2020. I cross-referenced the formation dates against our marital asset transfers. Each company received transfers totaling between $240,000 and $310,000. The transfers occurred in amounts between $9,800 and $9,900, staying just below the $10,000 reporting threshold that triggers automatic bank notifications. Structured. Planned. Designed to avoid detection. I create a visual timeline showing company formations, transfer dates, and amounts. The pattern proves intentional structuring to conceal assets. By 2 p.m., I have organized the evidence into 3 categories. Box Alpha contains forgery documentation with authentication analysis. Box Beta contains appraisal fraud with metadata proving creation dates. Box Gamma contains shell company documentation with timeline analysis showing organized concealment. Each box includes a detailed index. Each piece of evidence cataloged with unique identifier, authentication date, methodology used, conclusions reached. I call Brenda Wu. She answers on the second ring. Douglas, how are you? I need your expertise. Can you meet me at the library? She arrives 40 minutes later. We worked together for years when she researched historical fraud cases for her forensic accounting practice. I helped her authenticate financial documents in our archives. She helped me understand how fraud patterns evolved across different eras. I spread Box Beta across the conference table. The dual appraisals, the metadata analysis, the timeline showing creation dates. She examines the documents without speaking, pulls reading glasses from her bag, studies the metadata reports, compares the legitimate and fraudulent valuations side by side, sets them down. This is complete fraud documentation. Every signature discrepancy, every hidden transfer. Can you translate it into legal testimony? She nods. I'll prepare a forensic accounting report. Timeline analysis. Visual representations of the transfer patterns. Expert testimony explaining how the concealment scheme operated. I'll need it within 2 weeks. You'll have it in 10 days. After she leaves, I organize the evidence into presentation boxes using the same archival system I designed for library special collections. Each piece preserved in acid-free sleeves. Each box labeled with contents, date range, evidence type. Box 47 through Box 89, 43 boxes of documentation. 15 years of record keeping. I call Margaret Chin at 4:30 p.m. Her practice specializes in divorce fraud cases. She destroyed an asset concealment scheme last year that made regional news. Her assistant schedules an appointment for the following morning. I spend the evening updating the master index. 47 pages cross-referencing every document by date, fraud type, involved party, supporting evidence, authentication methodology. The index reads like a professional archival catalog because that's what it is. Each entry follows the same format I use for rare manuscript collections. Unique identifier, item description, preservation date, authentication notes, cross-references to related materials. Margaret Chen's office occupies the 14th floor of a downtown building. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city. Her desk holds 3 computer monitors and stacks of legal files. I place the master index on her desk. She reads for 11 minutes without speaking, flips pages, makes notes on a legal pad, returns to earlier sections, cross-references entries. Your family made a fatal mistake, she says. They tried to defraud an expert in detecting document fraud. Can we win? She sets down the index. Win doesn't describe what's going to happen here. This documentation proves organized fraud across 15 years. 14 counts of forgery. Criminal conspiracy to conceal marital assets. Fraudulent appraisals created specifically for divorce proceedings. Your wife faces criminal charges. So do your children. So does Glenn Whitmore. I need this filed immediately. She picks up her phone. I'll have the emergency motion ready by tomorrow afternoon. Asset freeze. Fraud referral to the district attorney. Discovery demands for every document they've hidden. The boxes sit in my car. 43 containers of evidence. Each piece cataloged. Each forgery documented. Each hidden transfer traced. 15 years of quiet observation. 15 years of documentation. 15 years of professional methodology applied to personal betrayal. They thought I was too boring to matter, just a librarian who filed papers and never understood real success. They were wrong about everything except one thing. I do file papers, with professional precision, using authentication methodology that detects fraud invisible to amateur eyes, creating documentation complete enough to destroy concealment schemes. The archives are ready. 3 months after the anniversary party, I walk into County Family Courtroom 7B at 9:17 a.m. carrying 3 archival boxes. Dark wood paneling lines the walls. Judge Morrison Blackstone sits at the raised bench, reviewing documents. 40 observers in the gallery. I recognize 32 faces from the anniversary party. Diane sits at the plaintiff table with Richard Castellano. Designer business suit, statement jewelry, the confident posture of someone expecting victory. Jessica and Michael occupy the front row of the gallery, both smiling. Glenn Whitmore sits 3 rows back, prepared to testify about property valuations. 3 archival boxes rest against my hip. Box 47, Box 31, Box 12, each one labeled with contents and date ranges. Margaret Chen stacks the boxes on our table. Box 47, Box 31, Box 12. I sit. Judge Blackstone called the session to order at 9:30. Castellano stood. Your Honor, my client built a successful real estate business over 32 years while supporting a husband who contributed little beyond basic bill paying. The marital assets total $510,000. Mrs. Crawford requests $180,000 in equalization payments for the financial support she provided throughout the marriage. He presented documents showing Diane's real estate commissions, her business growth, her professional achievements. The narrative positioned Douglas Crawford as someone who showed up and filed papers while his wife built everything that mattered. Mr. Crawford never understood real success, Castellano said. He maintained a modest librarian position, while my client created a thriving business that supported their lifestyle. Judge Blackstone reviewed the filing. Mr. Crawford, how do you respond? I stood, picked up Box 47, subsection C, set it on the evidence table. Your Honor, I have organized documentation proving systematic fraud. 15 years of concealment. 32 years of financial records. Diane's face drains of color. Her hand moves to Castellano's sleeve, grips it. The smile is gone. I removed 2 documents from the box, placed them side by side on the mounted display. The left document showed a property transfer dated March 2019. My signature transferring our rental condo to Meridian Property Holdings. The right document showed the original deed with my authentic signature from 1992. These signatures match to untrained observation. Under UV examination, they tell different stories. Margaret activated the UV light mounted above the display. The 2019 signature glowed wrong. Modern ballpoint ink manufactured after 2020, fluorescing at a wavelength impossible for documents allegedly signed in March 2019. I positioned the digital microscope over the questioned signature. The magnified image appeared on the courtroom monitor. Uniform pressure across every stroke. Traced writing, not natural hand movement. Authentic signatures show pressure variation. This shows mechanical consistency. Someone copied my writing. Placed 13 more property transfer documents on the evidence table. Wrong ink composition. Traced pressure patterns. Forged signatures transferring $847,000 to unauthorized shell companies. Jessica's smile disappears. Michael sits motionless, jaw tight. Box 31, I said. The timeline documentation proved signatures allegedly made when signers were verifiably elsewhere. March 2019 property transfer, signed while I was attending a library conference in Boston. Attendance records confirming my presence 3,000 miles from the notary office. June 2020 transfer, signed while I was cataloging a manuscript collection. Security footage showing me in the library vault during the alleged signing time. Box 12, Shell Company Incorporation documents. Meridian Property Holdings, Cascade Investment Group, Lakeview Asset Management. Jessica listed as managing member of the first. Michael managing the second. Diane as beneficial owner of all 3. The companies serve no legitimate business purpose. They exist to hide marital assets through staggered transfers designed to avoid reporting thresholds. I opened Box 8, removed a digital drive. Margaret loaded the first audio file. Jessica's voice filled the courtroom. Dad won't know what hit him. The transfer structure is perfect. He's too simple to understand beneficial ownership rules. Michael's voice followed. The offshore trust is elegant. Dad's never heard of these instruments. From a structural standpoint, we're operating 3 levels above his comprehension. I played 16 more recordings from the 53 conversations I'd archived. Diane discussing property appraisal manipulation with Glenn. Jessica coaching her mother on public divorce strategy. Michael explaining how to structure transfers to avoid detection. 53 conversations total, I said. Transcribed and indexed by topic. Each file includes timestamp verification and cloud storage authentication, proving no tampering. Judge Blackstone leaned forward. Mrs. Crawford, did you participate in these conversations? Diane opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Castellano. Your Honor, Castellano said, we need time to review this evidence and consult with our client about context and— The context is clear, Judge Blackstone said. Continue, Mr. Crawford. Margaret called Brenda Wu to the witness stand. Brenda presented her forensic accounting report, 127 pages, analyzing every hidden transfer, every shell company formation, every fraudulent appraisal. She displayed visual timelines on the courtroom monitor showing systematic transfers designed to avoid $10,000 reporting thresholds. The pattern proves intentional structuring, Brenda said. $847,000 moved through 3 shell companies in amounts between $9,800 and $9,900. 43 separate transfers over 18 months. This represents organized asset concealment. Castellano cross-examined for 12 minutes. Castellano sits down. Brenda's testimony stands unchallenged. Judge Blackstone called Glenn Whitmore to the stand. Mr. Whitmore, explain the discrepancy between these property valuations. Margaret displayed 2 appraisals for our Victorian house. The first valued the property at $890,000, dated October 2020 for property tax appeal. The second valued the same property at $510,000, dated March 2023 for divorce proceedings. Glenn shifted in his seat. The second appraisal represents preliminary estimates based on conservative market projections, and I placed a document on the evidence table. Metadata extraction showing file creation dates. The fraudulent appraisal was created March 12, 2023, 3 days after Diane filed for divorce. You created 2 complete sets of appraisals, I said. Legitimate versions showing actual market values. Fraudulent versions showing values reduced by 40%. The metadata proves you generated false documents specifically for divorce asset concealment. Glenn's face went red. He looked at Diane. She looked away. Judge Blackstone reviewed my master index. 47 pages cross-referencing every document by date, fraud type, involved party, authentication methodology. He read for 8 minutes without speaking. This is the most complete fraud documentation I have encountered in 30 years on the bench. He set down the index. All marital assets are frozen, pending emergency hearing. I am referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. 14 counts of forgery. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Perjury in divorce proceedings. Mrs. Crawford, your children, and Mr. Whitmore will receive formal notification of charges within 72 hours. Whispers spread through the gallery. Someone's chair scrapes. Papers rustle. Emergency asset distribution hearing is scheduled for June 26, Judge Blackstone said. Given the fraud evidence, I anticipate awarding Mr. Crawford full marital assets plus sanctions against the plaintiff for fraudulent concealment. He struck his gavel. Diane remains at the plaintiff table, motionless. Jessica and Michael stand, move toward the exit, stop when the gallery watches. Glenn Whitmore sat frozen in the gallery's 3rd row, staring at nothing. I packed the archival boxes. Box 47, Box 31, Box 12. Each piece of evidence cataloged and preserved using the same methodology I'd employed for 35 years. Witnesses file past. Some glance at me, others look away. The developer from Seattle walks past without meeting my eyes. Margaret collected our files. That was the most thorough evidence presentation I've ever witnessed. I closed the last box. It's what I do. I preserve things. I document truth. Judge Blackstone's written order arrives by courier on July 18, 2023. Margaret calls at 8:47 a.m. $890,000 in marital assets, she says. $340,000 in sanctions. Total award, $1.23 million. Diane receives nothing. I set down my coffee. The mug made no sound against the granite countertop. $890,000. $340,000 in sanctions. The Victorian house. Everything. The Victorian house? Awarded to you. Full ownership. The rental properties. Everything. She gets nothing except criminal charges. I walk through the Victorian house that evening, the turret office, the filing cabinets, Box 47 through Box 89, 32 years of documentation, 15 years of systematic observation. The archives proved everything. Margaret forwards the final settlement documents, 47 pages, cross-referenced to Box 47 through Box 89, every forged signature cataloged, every fraudulent appraisal indexed. July 22, 23. State Real Estate Commission sends notice of license suspension to Diane Crawford. Professional misconduct investigation opened. Every transaction at Whitmore and Associates over 3-year conspiracy period flagged for audit. I document each consequence in dated entries. The pattern proves systematic destruction mirrors systematic fraud. July 25, 2023. State Appraiser Board issues permanent license revocation to Glenn Whitmore. License number 47832. Permanently revoked by board vote of 7-0. 18 years of professional reputation destroyed. Ethics investigations opened into hundreds of previous valuations questioning legitimacy of entire career. Margaret calls August 2. Jessica terminated this morning from marketing firm. Formal letter cites moral turpitude incompatible with employment. Creating shell companies for fraud constitutes grounds for immediate dismissal. I add the update to my timeline. 4 conspirators, 4 professional destructions. The documentation continues. August 5, 2023. Michael's banking license suspended by State Regulatory Board. Investment banking firm terminated him 3 weeks after administrative leave began. Termination letter references conduct incompatible with fiduciary responsibilities. Permanent bar from financial services industry. Former colleagues who previously respected Michael's sophisticated financial strategies now view him as criminal, who weaponized expertise for fraud. Chess tournament organizers quietly discourage his participation. Nobody wants association with fraud case. Jessica's professional network deletes connections. Marketing executives decline meetings. Former business school colleagues distance themselves from scandal. Equestrian Stable sends email August 15 suggesting she find new facility. Professional exile complete. Whitmore and Associates closes within 6 weeks. Former clients file civil suits alleging fraudulent valuations cost them money in property transactions. Glenn faces combined legal fees exceeding $180,000. No income to pay them. Career ended. Lakewood Country Club revokes Diane's membership August 10. No explanation given. Same membership committee that rejected our application. Same chairman who sent the letter explaining we weren't quite the right fit. The real estate professionals who witnessed the anniversary party distance themselves completely. Delete social media connections. Refuse calls. The developer from Seattle who heard about our kitchen renovation blocks her number. The broker who sold us rental properties won't return messages. 87 witnesses to my humiliation. 87 witnesses to her destruction. By August, Diane works as administrative assistant at a law firm downtown. $42,000 annually. Less than I earned as junior cataloger in 1991, adjusted for inflation. Perfect symmetry. She lives in rental apartment. Small, modest, stark contrast to Victorian house she lost. Luxury car seized for asset recovery. Investment properties frozen. Country club membership revoked. Professional network deleted. Diane wanted to escape her boring librarian husband. Now she earns less than that boring librarian earned 32 years ago. Jessica lied about her father's profession. Now she has no profession to lie about. Michael weaponized financial expertise for fraud. Now he's permanently barred from financial services. Glenn manipulated appraisals for profit. Now his appraiser license is permanently revoked. District Attorney schedules criminal trials for October 2023. 14 counts forgery, 3 counts conspiracy to commit fraud, 2 counts perjury. Each count carries 3 to 5 years. Diane faces potential 47 years combined sentences. Jessica and Michael face combined legal fees exceeding $180,000 for criminal defense. Public defenders declined due to asset levels. Private attorneys require $50,000 retainers each. Assets draining fast. Margaret calls September 12. Plea negotiations started. All 4 defendants requesting deals to avoid trial. What are they offering? Diane's attorney proposed guilty plea to reduced charges in exchange for testimony against Glenn and the children. Jessica and Michael want separate deals. Glenn's attorney requesting minimum sentencing due to age and health issues. I stand at my desk in the library, Special Collections Department, cataloging a donation of Civil War letters. The work continues. Authentication methodology unchanged. My life unchanged. Their lives unrecognizable. Rebecca stops by my office. Heard about the settlement. Congratulations. Thank you. You doing okay? I'm fine. Just finishing this cataloging project. She nods and leaves. Normal conversation. Normal work. My routine never changed. I showed up, did my job, documented everything. They built comprehensive scheme over 15 years. They face comprehensive consequences from interconnected systems. Courts, licensing boards, employers, professional networks, each institution responding independently to fraud exposure. I didn't pursue vengeance. I presented documentation. The systems did the rest. Monday morning, I catalog a donation of Civil War letters. The work continues. Authentication methodology unchanged. My life unchanged. Their lives unrecognizable. That evening, I update the master index. Box 47 through Box 89. Case closed. Archives complete. I file the final page and close the cabinet. The lock clicks. 32 years preserved. 15 years avenged. The documentation continues. I still work as head librarian of special collections. Same desk, same authentication equipment, same climate-controlled vault housing, rare manuscripts. February 2024. 8 months after the trial. My salary remains modest. The work continues. The Victorian house echoes when I walk through it. No voices, no footsteps but mine. I live alone in the 3-story building I financed over 32 years. My turret office still contains floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets, though most are empty. The evidence boxes transferred to Margaret Chen for the ongoing criminal proceedings. Rebecca stopped by my office yesterday. A visitor asked about you, she said. Mentioned reading about the case. Thanked you for standing up to entitled manipulation. I adjusted my magnifying lamp over a Civil War letter. That's kind. Your fraud detection case is being taught in authentication seminars now. The Municipal Archivists Professional Association cited your methodology. I examined the letter's signature. Consistent pressure patterns. Authentic. My article on detecting forgeries appeared in 3 legal journals last month. Practical application of archival methodology to family court fraud. Professional reputation growing from work I did to survive my marriage. Weekends? I create hand-drawn fantasy maps in leather-bound journals. Intricate worlds with topographical features, political boundaries, trade routes. The systematic mind that documented 15 years of fraud now creates beauty. I recently began showing them to Rebecca. The detail is precise, she said, studying the coastline I'd spent 6 hours rendering. Brenda Wu visits monthly for coffee. We discuss historical fraud patterns, authentication techniques, the evolution of document forgery across centuries. The country club sent a membership invitation last month. Quiet offer from the same committee that rejected our application 5 years ago. The same people who witnessed my humiliation and vindication. I read the invitation twice, set it in the recycling bin, didn't respond. I spent 32 years being the foundation for people who never valued it. 15 years documenting their betrayal with the same care I gave everything else. The quiet competence they mocked as boring paper pushing destroyed their sophisticated fraud. 32 years of mortgage payments. 15 years of documentation. The foundation they never photographed held up when everything else collapsed. Sometimes the best revenge is being exactly who you've always been when others underestimate what that means.